But the big talking point for the market has been the slew of block deals, large deals, IPOs that we have seen recently. Is that momentum likely to continue? What does it mean for the liquidity and the appetite in the market? Let's decode all of that with Mr. V Jayasankar, the Managing Director and Member of Board, Kotak Investment Banking as well. Hi, good morning, sir. Thank you so much for making time and speaking with us. First up, we've of course seen the June number for block deals being at the highest level over the last 3 to 4 years. The question is, how long do you see this supply and the block deals really continuing in the market?
So I would say the block deals have been quite prevalent for the last 18 months. So even if you look at calendar 22, we had about $14 billion of blocks, right? So fairly some of the large transactions that happened the previous year where the Max Healthcare sell down by KKR and CPPIB selling down in Kotak. We are involved in both of these transactions. And the first one is about $1.5 billion in 2 tranches. So it's not that blocks have not been pretty prevalent over the last few quarters. In fact, it has been. It's just that the momentum has picked up very significantly in June. And the factors are, one, the India macros are being seen as very strong. Corporate earnings are very strong. And FPI investors are back in a very, very significant way. I think they have probably pumped in more than $10 billion in the last quarter, along with the DI flows. All these flows have really supported. And whenever you have these strong flows, you also need very strong supply of paper. And the block deals from whether it's the promoters or the private equity investors give you that window. For example, in June, as you rightly said, about $6 billion got done. And we at Kotak were involved in about nearly $2 billion, roughly about a third of them. And we saw some very large sell downs by CPPIB and Kotak Bank, around 40 million. We had 2 very large OFS transactions of Coal India, 500 million, Manyavar, about $350 million. And all these had very good response from both foreign and domestic investors. So I would say this momentum will continue. The reason for that is IPOs take a much longer lead time. And the IPO momentum got broken. I would say in calendar 22, you had only 5 to 6 months of window open, unlike blocks which are open probably for practically 11 months. And therefore, for some of the large issuers, we are having more conversations now. That momentum is picking. But for some of the large issues to come to the market, it will take some more time. I mean, we had 2 large IPOs of Mankind and Nexus REIT, successful transactions, both of them over 500 million. But we will probably see a lot more of the small cap and the mid cap IPOs happening over the next few months. So I would say, therefore, IPOs will see a lot more of the small cap, mid cap for the next few months. Block momentum will continue. And that augurs well because it tells, even for the IPO investors, that money is available.
Absolutely. But would you say that, the investor on the street is a little bit more seasoned and has burned their fingers and therefore learned their lessons from what we had 2 years back when you had the plethora of, the new age tech companies come to the street? I mean, while there have been some great subscriptions from the IPOs of late, but then there has also been that PKH Ventures wherein the IPO had to be recalled.
Yeah, so we are not involved with PKH, so I will refrain from commenting on that. But if you look at the IPOs that happened in the second half of the last calendar year, especially in the hospital space and in financials and consumer, most of these companies have gone on to give very good returns. So I would say investors have probably benefited from some of the IPOs in the last, call it 9 months or so. Even Mankind Pharma, it's probably up more than 50%. Nexus REIT is again trading in a positive zone. So I would therefore say investors have had a fairly pleasant experience, particularly in the last 9 months. The correction of the excesses of 21 is by and large done from a valuation standpoint. The other thing that I would say is Indian market will always see robust valuations, whether it's listed or companies that come to the market. And I would say in the last 9 months, investors, particularly institutional investors, have been a lot more focused on profitable growth companies. And that's why you probably see a better discipline and a better return profile to the IPOs of the last 9 months.
Sure, Mr. Jayasankar, just wanted to talk to you a bit more about, what you said. Of course, perhaps class of 23 will not be the case, the like of class of 21 that we have seen on account of the valuations. But in terms of the pipeline going forward, is there a, mad rush with respect to the promoters and large investors to offload via block deals? Is the pipeline very, very strong for July, August as well? IPO, as you pointed out, might take 5 to 6 months as well. But will the next couple of months be as good as June when it comes to the block deals?
See, the IPO pipeline will be very nuanced in my view, because the 22 year was very challenging, and you probably had only 40 IPOs getting done. Roughly about $7.5 billion were raised on the market. The largest one, of course, LIC. So if you take LIC x LIC, that $7.5 billion comes on by a good nearly 3 billion, right? So that momentum was broken. We had at the peak about 120 documents filed with SEBI, and therefore the excess of 21 that you probably saw in the filings, and many of those IPOs probably will not get done. Some of the documents the time period has also expired. But currently, if you see the number of documents filed with SEBI, it's probably a more saner number of, call it 70 number, right? So 120 has come down to 70. And I do notice a lot of small and mid-cap IPOs probably better positioned, as I said, for the next few months. And the reason for that is some of the large cap IPOs, that momentum got broken because of what happened in 22. And these companies are not in a hurry. They could get external financing. So we are seeing a lot more conversations with the large cap IPOs in recent months. And therefore, I would say this will probably, you'll probably see larger IPOs coming towards the end of the calendar year. More of the small cap, mid cap, but the momentum is certainly picking up, and will be probably a far better 23 compared to 22.
You know, on the point that you're making about there will be more IPOs from within the small and the mid-cap arena, would you say that a lot of SMEs will also be hitting the primary market?
You're right. I think that you will see a lot of IPOs of a size anywhere between 500 crores to 2,000 crores really hitting the market. The market cap of these companies could probably be anywhere from, call it 2.5, 3,000 crore to probably 6, 7,000 crores. So you are going to see a lot of the small cap companies coming to the market, and many of them are very profitable. Many of them are doing well. And since some of these documents have been filed with SEBI for a fairly long period of time, investors have also been able to track how these companies have progressed since the filing. And this is giving greater confidence for many of these small cap IPOs to happen. Of course, the market being at an all-time high, there are great flows into the small cap mutual funds. So investors are also looking for good ideas, and all of it is coming together at the right time.
Okay, and Mr. Jayasankar, just before we let you go, I know it's difficult and it's very broad-based, but is there any sector which is seeing a lot more interest from the investors as well? We've suddenly seen a slew of all of these manufacturing companies coming on the anvil. Is that something you're witnessing as well?
You're right. I think over the last few quarters, we saw more IPOs from financials, consumer, and healthcare. But we are now beginning to see this getting a little bit more broad-based. We are seeing companies in the infrastructure space, companies in the capital goods space, in the broader services space coming to the market. So you will see a more broad-based sector themes playing out over the next few quarters as compared to what you saw in 22.
Jayasankar, we let you go. Really appreciate you joining us on the show today and talking to us what's happening with respect to the primary market as well as what's happening in these special windows transactions as well.